All right, welcome back to Peace of Mind, episode 4, I believe.
Yes, the 4th episode.
My name is Eddie Gaddert. I'm joined with
Andrew Schmidt and our guest,
special guest
Jared Givens.
Hello, everyone.
Remind me again, when did you graduate from Bethel?
This past December.
Okay, that's what I figured. He is a screenwriter and a book writer.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So we will be diving into that today. First of all, we like to ask our guests the impact of Bethel, and then the first question we ask is, what was one thing that Bethel helped prepare you for life after college, and then what's kind of something that you think that Bethel could have done a little bit better to help prepare you for life after college?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So my college career is crazy. Back in my junior year of high school, I was actually recruited by Coach A.B. Stokes when he was here.
Oh, yeah.
And I decided to commit to a different school. I went to Fort Hays State for 3 years, and I entered the portal, and 2 weeks after I entered the portal, Coach Stokes called me. He said, there's a spot for you here at Bethel. We still, love you here. We still want you on the team and everything. So that's kind of how I got here this past spring 2023. Leading up to the fall of 2023 as well, to finish my last 2 years of my athletic career. So I originally didn't come here. I didn't want to come to Bethel. A lot of people, a lot of similar stories out there. But yeah, I got here 2 falls ago. Absolutely loved it. The people here are full of love and support, and something that I didn't think was possible in this area.
Mm-hmm.
I'm from Wichita, so it was just up the street, and I'm thinking, well, it's pretty close to home. I kind of want to be far away, because I was 2.5 hours away when I was at my previous school. But I guess one thing that has impacted me is the professors here, and also my teammates and other students that have supported me and helped me, people that I least expected to have that impact on my education and sort of believe in me in that sense.
For sure.
Mm-hmm. I think I would second that as well. I was here my freshman year, then went to K-State, then I came back, and definitely second that the community aspect of Bethel was very important for me in my decision to come back as well, because when you go to a bigger school, it's just you're just a number on the sheet, and you don't know your professors that well. Maybe you have 3 people in a class of 200 that and it just makes it more the experience more personable. I would say.
Don't worry, I've been at Bethel all 4 years. I'm loyal to the cause. So, but yeah. I guess we should talk about if you could come back and say, I really wish Bethel would have done this for me. What do you think that would have been at your time here at Bethel?
I would say, I guess they do a very good job at reaching out and recruiting. I'd say email wise, call wise. I'd say one thing to improve upon is maybe, I guess, the housing situation just for new freshmen.
Yeah.
That could be very intimidating because I know what it's like to be at a new place and not be familiar with a building or be in close quarters. At Fort Hays State, there's this place called McMidas Hall, and it's 12 floors. It's basically like Howery, but 12 floors.
Wow. You
could imagine that. It's scary. It's crazy, but they put all of us football players on the 2nd floor. It was very clean all the time. Absolutely not. But, just that experience, with housing, we have a lot of land on this campus that can definitely be used for more. I know there's plenty of construction plans, I'm sure.
Right.
But I'd probably just say the housing situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I often wonder, Howery for me is the building I think of when I think of, outdated housing.
For sure.
I wonder how many recruits are turned away because they see the state of Howery Hall.
It's not the best.
It's in I think after we build the athletic. What is it called? The building? I don't know. Whatever they're building.
Miniature Y.
Yeah, I think their plan is to redo Howery Hall next. So maybe in 15 50 to 100 years we'll get that done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right.
Yeah, so we would like to hear more about your current endeavors into the screenwriting as well as book writing. What was like your biggest influence? What would you say of getting into that space?
So for writing books, when I was a kid in elementary, I used to hate to read. Like in Wichita, what's called Westlink Library, they'd have this summer reading program every single year. My parents signed my brother and I up for it, and like we absolutely hated it. We had to read like 30 minutes a day for every day, like during the summer. And while it's like a small portion of the day, like for a kid, it's like, oh, I could be outside
Right.
playing, playing sports. But yeah, I started reading books, and I was like really getting into, Goosebumps by R.L. Stein, that whole entire series. I had friends, we used to trade those books, in elementary and read through the whole entire series. So that's when I got into sort of like the scarier topics, like the horror novels and things like that. My first 2 books were self-help books, but my last 3 are all horror novels, and that's kind of how I got into it, just constantly reading and watching things that I probably shouldn't have watched at a young age, that, scared me. But it also inspired me to start writing. And as I kept going to theaters and watching like YouTube short films, I'm like, well, what if I could write a script, and what if I could one day sit in a theater and enjoy a film that I wrote or directed? So that's really what drives me. I've been screenwriting for 2 years now, since 2023. And the first script that I wrote was based on my 3rd novel, Roll Call, that I wrote in like 3 months, finished it couple Decembers ago, and from there I just fell in love with it.
Nice.
Since you do both, is there, obviously script writing and writing a book are different. Is there ways that they kind of cross over, or are they completely different, like writing styles, or like can you kind of take from both?
I'd say the crossover would be the plot and the character development.
Mm-hmm.
In a script, you want to be 120 pages or less, because it's about a minute of screen time per page for a script. So if it's 120 pages, then it's a 2-hour film. Whereas like a book, you could be more detailed, which you kind of want to be if you want to reach that 300-page mark, which is a grueling process, but it's also exciting when you get into it. But yeah, I'd definitely say like the crossover is the plot and character development. You want your audience to know about the setting and the plot, and what these characters do, their motives, things that they could sort of relate to on the page, either as a producer reading the script, as an actor or actress reading the script, or just someone in a library picking up a book, reading the back of it, and eventually, buying it and reading it.
Yeah. So can you talk a little bit about like your personal process when it comes to either, writing like a book or a screenplay? Like the first thing, like when the idea hits your mind, like how do you develop that from there?
First, I write it down in my notes, either on my phone or in my notebook, and I try to think of the setting. I like to pick my title and setting like at the very beginning, and it could be like a working title or setting, but once I get that setting down, I start doing research over the place. Like my 3rd book, which is my first novel, takes place in this place like in California, north of Los Angeles, this town. It's called Oric. They have one elementary school, and it's a crazy town. Like this is an actual town. Their population is, I believe, less than 300 up there, and that was the setting of my book. So I did a whole bunch of research on that area. My 4th novel takes place in Philadelphia, so I did research over, the neighborhoods there and like the culture there.
Yeah.
That's sort of my process. And I also like to get the names of the characters down and their motives and, things like their race, their age, for the script, because when you're writing a script, the first time you mention a character, you have to put their first and last name in all caps, and also like their age and what they look like, so that, whoever looks at the script knows what kind of actor, actress can match up with that character. And it also helps like with writing books as well. So my process, I usually get the idea down. I get a plot going, about like 3 sentences, a short little plot, like it's a log line. Like say you're streaming on Netflix or Max or Hulu, when you select a movie, it has that 2 to 3 sentence plot. So I try to shorten it to that, and then I use this thing. I forgot what it's called, but it's a story circle, and there's 8 different pieces of it, and like you go from step 1 to 8 for each act. I usually use the 3-act structure. That's what helps me.
Sure.
A lot of writers use different structures, but the 3-act has helped me with my books and scripts. So I use that, and it usually just helps me get a little direction, you know, some connections between different plots and different stories of each character, so it can all come together into something that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar. What was your degree that you graduated with?
It was business management.
Business management.
Yeah.
That's what I figured.
Definitely.
How has that helped you with writing, or has it not really correlated at all with writing books?
I'd say the communication aspect and sort of like the little bit of marketing that's taught in that degree, and also just the time management. You know, it's definitely not easy, you know, sitting at a computer and writing 300 pages of something that maybe 2 or 3 people might read, or writing 120 pages of something that, you know, 100 people might read. So it's definitely a process, you know, with the time management, with a business degree or whatever, I guess, degree you would have, like, it's taking that time and sort of sacrificing other things just so I could get done with a page or a chapter.
For sure.
Also, this just kind of popped into my mind. Like when you have like, what is it, like writer's block, you know, like where you can't, what sort of like strategies do you use to help kind of fight through that? I know like when I am writing a paper or something for class and I have writer's block, I just, like I have nothing that I use to like fight through it. I just kind of sit there acting stupid for a while until something pops in my mind. Do you have any like recommendations for people that like are wanting to get into writing and struggling with like a kind of a place to start?
Yeah. There's this quote that I always see when I'm, you know, scrolling and stuff, because I follow a whole lot of writers and authors. Like, it's like you can't edit a blank page, and you know you could apply that to your life, like, or just in writing in general. But when I hit writer's block, which, I mean, it's gotten really frequent now. You know, with so much experience, even now I have writer's block. Some days I do stare at the computer screen like, okay, what do I do next?
Yeah.
But most of the time, you know, some people say rest or clear your mind. Like, I look for content that relates to what I'm writing about. Like, I consume like YouTube videos or watch one of my favorite films or TV shows to sort of get my mind back on track with like storytelling. Like, now that I write a whole lot, I watch a film from a writer's perspective and not so much as like for entertainment now. Like, but I also love it for entertainment, of course. But now I watch for the cinematography, the dialogue, all of that. And sometimes I read scripts from my favorite films. Like, for example, Rango is one of my favorite films. It's like my top 3 favorite films from 2011. It made over like 300 million box office. It was one of the biggest movies of that year. I absolutely love that movie. I know the script front and back, but when I, you know, do things like that, I read through scripts and sort of look at the structure and things like that. So if there's anyone out there who's facing writer's block or struggling with that, like, recognize that it starts with one word, and a few of those words makes a sentence, a few of those sentences makes a paragraph, then a page, and eventually a book or a script. So it's just the believing part, because I think the writer's block comes from, you know, not believing in yourself or not believing what you wrote down. So just that constant reminding of yourself, like, I got this, you got this. So that's kind of how I take it.
Yeah. I'm going to broaden Andrew's question a bit more. What would you say, you know, to anyone listening, whether they be a college student or, you know, a fully grown adult or even like a high school student, any age, I guess I should say, if they wanted to start doing what you're doing, I know for me, like thinking about that, like, you know, breaking into the writing space is a scary aspect. Do you have anything you'd say to someone that's looking to, you know, start writing?
Yeah, I'd say just start now. Start little. My first book was, like, here's some context. So I'm a 2020 graduate. this will be the last time I talk about what happened back then. But we graduated at my high school. Like, we had a makeshift stage on the sidewalk, and I pre-recorded a graduation speech that I was supposed to give at WSU, Koch Arena, Charles Koch Arena, around that time. But we didn't do that, and I just see all of our teachers on the sidewalk in like lawn chairs, having a good time watching us graduate. But also during that time, around 2021, I went to a Walmart in Hayes and I bought a journal and some pens, and I just started like writing my thoughts down. And then I started missing like all of my classmates from high school. Like, I'm like, man, what are they doing with their lives? Like, it's a crazy time. Where are they at? What are they doing? I miss them so much. So that's what inspired me to write my first book, No Wasted Movement, Growing in Discomfort, because like I wanted them to get a message of hope and like motivation and purpose when during like a dark time. I ended up releasing that book August of 2022 after like a whole year of journaling. My first journal that I purchased, the one that I talked about just now, like the first entry was on July 1st, 2021. So it took a whole year writing in that journal with the process and everything, and ended up writing a book out of it, which was crazy to me. I mean, it's scary, like you said, like putting yourself out there and publishing something like that and hoping people read it or hoping your family or friends support it. And I got more support than I expected for that. And because of that, because you start now and like you get the ball rolling, like you will eventually sort of make the impact that you believe you can make. So
I never thought of it like your name's tied to the book. So like when I read something that's bad, I'm like, oh, well, I don't like this guy. I've never even met him. So yeah, that would be kind of scary, because you're like, I want you to put something good out, and you don't know kind of the reactions
on the back of every book.
Right.
Like they know what I look like. Like it's scary, and I don't go under a fake name. I always want to put my name on it, whether people say it's trash or good. So
So when you have like a completed book, do you have like a publisher? Like, how do you get that words from your desk onto a book that you can physically pick up?
So my first book was like what they call hybrid published. So it was kind of like the self-publishing benefits, but I had a publisher for that. Balboa Press is what they're called. I think they're based in like Illinois or something like that. But I reached out to them. They'll give you like a price or whatever, like a quote to publish it if you want to go that route. But the self-publishing route is like much cheaper, and you get more, like about 60 to 70% of what the book costs with profits. But if it's just a strict publisher, then you might be tied to a contract, which I am not. But the hybrid publishing, back when I published my first book, it was around like 50 to 60, and I ended up selling a fair amount of that, as well as like the last 4. So I guess like the process, you could always self-publish through Amazon. That's what I do now. That's what I will probably continue doing with most of my books, unless like some publisher reaches out or something like that, which would be cool. But I do enjoy the self-publishing aspect. So yeah, with that, like it's just a whole lot of typing, a whole lot of editing. I'd say my favorite part is writing the book.
Right.
Editing that thing, oh my goodness.
Yeah, that would 100% be my least
That's
favorite
That's one
part.
thing that I want an editor. That's what I want. 300 plus pages of editing is crazy. Even like with a script, I'm going through 100 pages. It's still like you run it through Google or Word. It's like, red line under this, red line under that. And sometimes it's correct. But yeah, that's probably the only frustrating part, the editing.
Is the editing piece? I guess we haven't even talked about this yet, but like if someone listening to this wants to buy your book, is it through Amazon would be the best?
All 5 of them are on Amazon right now. If you could just look up Jared Givens books or just Jared Givens, it should be the first result.
There you go.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Support a Bethel grad.
Bethel grad, yes.
Absolutely.
Okay. We're getting flip-flopping back and forth between books and movies here. You need people to play the parts in a movie. What goes into selecting someone to play a character in a film?
So I have this friend from high school. His name is Hunter Bartholomew. He's an actor. He went to Newman. He's a Newman grad. Same with his wife. And those two acted in my first short film, Disc Golf, which we filmed last year around this time. It's on YouTube. It's really, I mean, it's supposed to be scary, but it's hilarious. But yeah, the process is like you send in audition tapes. Well, first you put out a casting call. It'll say the description, the parts you play, a short description of the characters. And then like whoever wants to audition for that, they'll send like an audition tape. And Hunter and I are currently like casting, or we have basically the full cast for a short film that I'll be directing this summer called Box by Box. It'll be pretty scary. It'll take place in like a Wichita apartment and, you know, different areas of Wichita that are scary. We'll make it look real good and cinematic, but the process is really just like sending the audition tapes, someone looks over it, you know, they approve or deny or put someone else in a different role, and it's just a bunch of that. I imagine like for the top dogs in Hollywood, they're probably watching hundreds of audition tapes a week, and that could probably be a stressful part of the job, but that's why they get their name, you know, in the front credits and end credits of like casting director, casting by, and when people enjoy the film, they're like, oh, I'm so glad this actor played this role, this actress played her role well. Like it's like the difference between a good week in the box office or a terrible week. So,
yeah. So, I guess I should ask, what do you enjoy the most? You know, like creative wise. You know, shooting short films or writing for a book or novel, or, you know, writing a screenplay. Like, if you had to choose to do one for the rest of your life, what are you choosing?
Definitely screenwriting, because you don't have to put as much detail into it, and it's like real quick. And it's like you're turning your imagination in your mind into characters that speak on a page and then like making it appear on the screen. Like that's just amazing to me.
Yeah, I bet that's really, you know, satisfying when that all comes together. So,
with like creating things, how do you like? I know like when I see things on the internet, social media, whatever. How do you like make something that's your own and not like just copying something? Because like, if I was to create something, I'd make it almost like a Harry Potter knockoff. Like I think you'd be reading it and you're like, this is just Harry Potter. So like, how do you like take inspiration but not just rip off what inspired you?
I'd say that's like it's a very weird time right now for films. And especially Hollywood, you know, you're seeing a lot of remakes and a lot of things inspired by other things.
Or like part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like
same plots, like they're stringing it out, like Scream, for example. Like my parents were around my age when those movies came out, like, and they're still like making them. But I mean, that's not a complaint. I mean, I always will watch a horror film, but I'd say you make it your own by being authentic from your own mind and not trying to like chat GPT your way through a script or a film. It's just like making those decisions and knowing that when it's authentic, people will enjoy it and they'll appreciate it more than if it was like a knockoff, something fake, you know, something that we've seen before, a plot that we've seen before. I'd say like a lot of TV shows now, to me, are just Grey's Anatomy, but different settings and characters, like different plots. Like I see like on NBC or CBS, like, oh, America's #1 TV show. I'm like, well, I've seen that before. It's just a different title.
It's like a different title.
Like, how many hospital shows do we need? How many yacht shows do we need?
Yeah, firefighter shows. I see a lot of those.
I mean, people love conflict. I get that. And especially reality TV shows. That's a whole other place. But
Yeah, so you're a horror fan. What would you say are your personal top 3 favorite horror movies of all time? This is a very important question.
Yeah, that is true.
Man, that is tough because I've been watching horror films for years. But one that really, I'd say this is number 3 that made an impact on me because it was scary. I was too young when I watched it. The Shining with Jack Nicholson and other actors, like just the different shots, like the way that Stanley Kubrick directed that film was just, absolutely insane. All the different scenes, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
The second one, I'd probably have to go with The Conjuring 2 with The Nun. That was our first introduction. Well, not first, I'd say, but my first introduction into how scary a nun could look like. Okay,
Yeah.
I remember it was like, I think I was 15 or 16 years old, and thank goodness I wasn't driving, but my dad and I watched that film in Wichita, and like the drive home, we watched the film at like 10:30, so we're getting home around.
You gotta watch them at night. Like,
Yeah.
It ruins it if you're.
We're getting home around 1. We live like 10 minutes away from this theater, and I'm just checking the rear view mirror. The mirror's like just so scary. Like even my dad was scared, and then I get home and I like lay in bed, pull the covers over, and I just start scrolling through the Bible app because that's how scary it was.
Yeah.
Like, this nun, like how could you even do that? It's crazy. And then I'd say like number 1. I'm not really sure about that. Maybe any of the Insidious movies or like the Conjuring movies, something like that.
Yeah. For me
Burn,
personally.
could you help the mic?
Nemo?
Here, I'll just pause it. We can take a little break.
And we're back.
We're back. All right. After all this waiting, now we are ready to hear the number 1 best horror movie of all time.
It's the first Insidious that released in 2010, solely because of that jump scare scene that no one expected when one of the detectives, like the man, is like sitting at the desk and like the red demon type thing just pops up on the screen. That came out when I was like 8 years old or something like that, so definitely shouldn't have been watching that. So, but yeah, that's one that also left a big impact on me. The first Insidious.
What makes I am terrified of being scared. I remember, I don't know how old I was, whenever the first Percy Jackson movie came out.
I love those.
And there's like this demon that came out of the fire. I don't know if you've seen it.
Yeah.
I started crying immediately, and we had to leave the theater because I was so terrified I couldn't stay and watch the movie. And I don't know, I get scared so easily, like it's just not enjoyable for me. Is that what makes a horror film good? Is that what people that like horror films, is that what they're seeking, to be scared, or like the more like sinister aspect, and that's like the intriguing part?
I mean, I would hope so. I see a lot of like these new horror movies. It's like, oh, the best horror film of the year, and then like they record the audience that that were paid to watch the film, their reactions. I hope people go there to be scared. I'd say like my appetite for horror and to be scared is like at its absolute highest. Right now I love it, but also my tolerance is high, so it means I have to watch scarier things and like to get that same feeling. But sometimes like I get caught off guard by just like the cinematography or the script or just certain jump scares. You try, like back when I was a teen and when I was younger, I would try to like, when it's silent, when the scene goes silent, like I would hold my breath and try to time it up and not breathe until the jump scare, but I never could anticipate it. I was one, when I was a kid, like I would jump back in my seat a lot in the theater, but after all that, like I'm like, I always get inspired because I'm like, what if I could have that effect on the audience? And like, not an evil way, but like
or like
an entertaining way.
Slowly, just like leaning forward, like anticipating.
Definitely.
That's honestly like when you just kind of think about it at a base level, it's a weird idea that people are going to pay money to come watch a movie.
To be terrified.
To just be scared. And, I enjoy horror movies. I've seen all the popular ones. I haven't like delved into the niche.
I guess I would say I enjoy watching it if I'm like with people, because then I try and scare them.
It's a shared experience.
I honestly think watching horror movies with other people makes it scarier, because when I watch a horror movie by myself, I'm like, all right, that's stupid.
Yeah.
But then when you're watching with other people, you're like looking around the room.
Like you're pressured to see who's going to be like jump, and if someone jumps early,
and or like I'll know like the scare will be coming. They look under the bed, nothing's there.
And even
when
like, like,
don't look again, it's gonna be right there.
Even when
you still get scared
again. I remember when
That's me.
Annabelle Creation came out. I think it was 2016, 2017. I'm with a group of my friends. For some reason, we're sitting on the second or third row at this theater, so we're just looking up at this. The doll's just in our face. But yeah, one of my friends, like, he got up to use the restroom and didn't come back for like 30 minutes.
That would be
so
me.
It's things like that, like, you could sit in your seat, like stay edge of your seat, be scared, but like it's all an experience. Like for me, horror is definitely an acquired taste. You know, like when you get used to it a lot, like I have, or like a lot of horror fans have, like you just seek it. Like it's kind of like a roller coaster, like from going from the teacups as a kid to the Mamba or whatever, the Patriot, whatever big roller coasters are out there now as an adult. Like you just seek that thrill.
Yeah.
Maybe that's my problem. Like I don't like roller coasters either.
I love roller coasters.
Absolutely.
Like I get sick just even watching them. So
Yeah, that's a
maybe
good
that is
way
like a
to put it.
correlation, or
A
maybe
thrill
it's just like a
seeking.
yeah.
Yeah, because you're both situations. You're putting yourself out of your comfort zone. It's different like aspects of it, but like even like when you're watching a horror movie, you're thinking I probably am not going to get haunted and die, right? And then when you're on a roller coaster, you're like I'm probably not going to fall out of the roller coaster and die, right? But you never know.
Is it like I always hear, what's that like? It's like State Farm commercial or whatever. You know, they're like, it's like a horror film kind of spoof, and they always make the wrong decisions. Is that like a unwritten rule of like horror films, or like you're supposed to like be like, what are you doing to like the characters in the movie?
I think that's what comic relief is. You know, it's for the audience to be like, okay, this person is staying in the house or they're staying in that area.
And they make like a stupid decision.
It's crazy. I mean, that probably worked like in the 80s and 90s, but now, you know, I wouldn't say like the slasher type film is dead. It's just, it's so repetitive.
Yeah.
You see it from, like I watched the film in February, the Hard Eyes film with like, you know, you got the masked slasher movies. Those are cool. They're interesting, but it's like almost the same plot every single time. But yeah, I would say for some filmmakers, it's an unwritten rule just to give some comic relief. For like, what are you doing? But it also takes the audience out of that like scary state in their mind. You kind of want to tap into their fears the whole entire time until you like hit that point and sort of traumatize them.
I feel like it's also really hard to write around smart decisions. Like these characters need to be in the situation for the movie to happen.
Right.
And if they were like, oh, you know what? My kid is telling me this house is haunted and he's seeing dead people. All right, we're gonna move. The movie's over.
Yeah, like it would be a 30-second ad, like for all of horror if things weren't like that. You know?
That's why, like, I really respect like good horror content, because it's like that is like they had to twist and like think about how to write a character into a situation where it's not like you feel like the character's stupid, but it's like they're in the situation and they're either going to get out or something crazy is going to happen. So I think there's like an added level of creativity to horror content, which I really respect. So
when watching a horror film, is it like how much different is it watching it at home versus like the theater? Like I'm thinking because like they got the best sound in there. Does like the music and like the sound, how big a role does that play in like keeping someone just like glued to the TV?
Yeah, I'd say I'm a huge advocate for going to the theaters, especially as more films, are in the theaters for 3 months and then they hit streaming. Those are the ones that usually either flop or they paid enough money to get on streaming as soon as possible. So I'd say like the theater will definitely keep your attention more because you're actually like you paid for the seat. You're
You're not gonna be on your phone
like
or
locked
whatever.
in. Like there's not too many distractions unless people are like screaming around you. I watched a film like a few months ago and like a lot of people were scared. It's just so entertaining hearing them scream sometimes and laugh, because they're so into it. When you're in the theater, like you put yourself into that film and that story and the character's shoes. And once you reach that level in the film, like, or while you're watching, it like has a greater impact on you as a viewer. Whereas at home, you could pause the film, you could always turn the volume down. That's the scary parts, which I've done plenty of times, or eat or have like a nice meal just to calm yourself down.
Flip the lights on for a little bit.
Yeah, definitely check behind you when you walk into the bathroom. But yeah, I'd say that's the main difference.
Yeah, I totally agree. I was actually pretty worried around COVID time that movie theaters were kind of going to be gone, like especially at the heat of COVID. Like
right.
They I mean, a lot of businesses were struggling, but COVID happens, streaming gets really popular during COVID, and everyone's talking like movie theaters are going to be gone. And I love going to a theater, with friends and just watching whatever movie. Like, I generally enjoy like every movie I watch. I'm not too critical. It's just a good time. I was really worried that, that wasn't going to be around for much longer, but it seems like, theaters are still kicking. They kind of bounced back after COVID, so that's a good thing, I would say.
What's the one in which they got like a full, it's like 21 plus to get in, like full dining experience. Have you done that at all?
I think that might be Regal, but there's also like the AMC's. But yeah, I think there's one in downtown Wichita where you press a button on the
you got like reclining seats, like you can call in people to bring you food.
Yeah, it's so cool. That place like never stopped. They never stopped, and they're still around. So yeah, it's definitely cool. The theaters are definitely very much alive today.
And people were speculating that, because theaters were struggling, they were going to move towards more like that kind of theater where it's more like an experience.
Right.
I heard there were plans. I don't think this has been implemented anywhere that I know of. It's like a stadium theater, like movie theaters. So like because it's kind of hard, or it was during COVID, to get people into this like theater. Instead of having, it would be like an event like once a month, or like a football or basketball game. You get like an actual stadium and have a huge like movie viewing for thousands of people at a time. More of like an event. That was kind of moving towards that. So I don't know. I don't think that like continued, but that was an interesting kind of idea, I guess, to keep it alive. So, but
my mom banned me from going out, so I
during COVID.
I was locked away in prison.
Locked in, like, oh man, it was crazy time.
Yeah, especially when it first started. Oof. But
would I was trying to think of like horror, not like Field of Screams. Is that something? Like, I've been offered free tickets multiple times, and I turn it down every single time because I'm like, I would just be terrified. Like, I would be the kind of person that would walk out of there and piss myself because I got so scared.
Yeah, I mean, my first time there, I was 7th grade, and like usually the people there don't let you touch you, or let them touch you, and you can't get too close to them. They could get in your face and everything, but as I'm in line at the entrance, like I put my arm around this like bald clown guy with a big stomach, bloody shirt, took a picture with him. Very good actor, whatever. But like the whole entire time, like I'm screaming, running away. There's a bunny with a chainsaw chasing me, and I'm like 13 years old. But yeah, it's definitely an experience. It's fun, whether you're used to it or not. And they change it up, I'm pretty sure, every single year. They have new areas. There's always going to be clowns there, like scary clowns, things like that. Just things that sort of get you riled up.
yeah.
I'm one of those people, like, I remember it was at the state fair. I don't remember what it's called, but you sit in a boat and it's like pitch black, and you kind of just like go around this track, and there's like a light flash, and like someone will scare you.
Yeah.
I'm like one of those people, like if I get scared, like I'll like punch or do one of those things. So like if I went into the field this year, I'm probably like punching someone, like because I got scared.
Yeah. Your fight or flight response.
Yeah, I'm very much the fight and then run.
And then run.
I mean, you definitely don't want to be on the opposite end of just like sitting there watching.
That's true.
I mean, those are the people that die in the scary movies the night.
But yeah, I remember that with that state fair thing. I think I was like probably like 11.
Ooh.
And I was with a friend and his parents, and I was just terrified.
Yeah.
I was just I just remember in the seat, just like, please, no. Like you can just hear him right there, and you're like, no, I know it's coming.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's weird how like many different aspects fear can like take. Like I really don't think like someone's like afraid of heights versus someone's afraid of killer clowns. Like those are two distinct like fear categories to me. But it's like all the same. That's just kind of like interesting to me how one person can see a spider and freak out and run away, and another person's like, eh. It's kind of like subjective, I guess.
Is there anything that you are like truly scared of?
Yeah.
If you enjoy horror,
Write this down.
Yeah, definitely. I guess like being trapped. I'd say I wouldn't say it's like a thing of like claustrophobia, but like just being trapped, or I don't know. I guess I haven't pushed far to know what like I'm extremely afraid of, because I write based on the fears that I've had or the fears that other people have, like currently. Like I guess in my first novel, not to go too graphic, like it takes place at an elementary school, so there's many ways you could have scary elements with that, and I thought of like what would scare me if I was like a third grader or something like that, and along with the other novels, like what would scare me, I guess just like being trapped somewhere, or being stuck in rural Kansas or somewhere in the middle of nowhere, something like that.
Yeah, that you mentioned Goosebumps earlier. I think that was this. The Goosebumps used to have a show. I don't know if you guys watched it. This episode,
I did not know that.
Honestly, like got to me so much, and on the surface, it's like not even that scary. But it was this episode about how this rural town, people are like going missing, and scarecrows are like popping up everywhere. The whole gist of it is eventually everyone in this town, and then I think it was kind of the whole world. It was weird, but turned into a scarecrow. And it was like the ending shot is like zooming out, and it's just so quiet, and that terrified me. I was like, what if I wake up one day and everyone's a scarecrow?
Yeah.
Just little weird thoughts like that.
There's also an episode that traumatized me. I refuse to watch it today, actually. Like even being 23 years old, like I will not watch this episode of Goosebumps, but I think it's about a missing boy. And in the episode, like he had this like lever where his grandma or mom would like, it's like one of those pull levers that go up to the upstairs, and she would put like strawberry milkshake and ice cream and hoist it up. And one day it came down, it was broken glass and broken and the strawberry ice cream's all over that. I could still eat strawberry ice cream. That's not the scary part. But the last 10 minutes of this episode, the whole house is on fire, but the piano in the living room plays by itself in the tune of that piano. If I listened to that today, I would definitely be traumatized. That thing is so scary. I will not touch that episode. I won't even look at it. It's just,
And like that, Goosebumps, the show was like targeted towards kids. It's kind of crazy.
It took place in the 90s,
it is like
2000s.
kids stuff.
Yeah.
I remember. I also enjoyed reading those books too. I remember, like I'd read them at night, so I'd be in my bed. I was a fast reader, and I liked reading, so I could read one like in the night. I remember like on some of them I'd be terrified, and like I'd have to sleep like every part of my body's like under the cover, and I'd be like, if any little piece sticks out, they're gonna get me, like whatever it is. I'm interested to know. I don't know if you would know this at all, but like, what's like the fear of like clowns, like that?
Yeah.
I've never been like scared of a clown, but I know there's like people that are just absolutely terrified of a clown. Like a clown is like a happy thing, like that's what it's supposed to be. Do you know like the why that kind of got started as like when people think of horror, I think the first thing most people is probably a clown.
Yeah, I think you could thank Stephen King for his book It, for changing Hollywood in the way that film was made back then, and then obviously the present day It movies with clowns. I think the difference is like people are scared of something that's new and niche and novel, something that they don't see every day. I think of it as the same thing like when a kid takes a picture with Santa at the mall and they start crying, probably because it's new. They haven't seen it before, or him before, and then it's just scary. So with the clowns, like they're always in different settings. Like it's the makeup, it's funny, but it's also terrifying if you are, I guess, caught with around one. I'd say that just comes from like just not knowing what's going to happen next,
And let's not forget 2016.
Yes.
It was a weird, and we don't really talk about
the
this.
clown-demic, whatever
the
you
clown
want to call it.
trend where people were running around with knives and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was real.
It was, yeah.
And like no one ever talks about. No one ever like
Were they
figured
like
out.
Yeah,
attacking people or?
There
Yeah,
were cases like.
yeah, some
I'm assuming it was
I
like
mean-
some niche internet group that like got together and like, hey, let's
probably
do this.
some Redditors.
I really don't know how it started, but no
Yeah.
one like figured it out, and it was happening all across America. My school in 8th grade,
Oh goodness.
we got a like clown threat, not a bomb threat or anything, a clown threat. Like there's going to be clowns that are coming around. Like someone called in. Like
Huh.
Yeah. Wow.
Just like
you never saw.
not
videos
like
of
it
that?
wasn't even like around Halloween. It was
No,
just like random.
It was sort of like a.
Yeah.
It was kind of. I mean, when I first heard about a case or whatever, like at my high school, like years after, and sort of like in middle school, it would be like, you know, during the fall or maybe like the spring. Like it wasn't just subject to Halloween. It was just almost a year-round type of thing, like a scare tactic maybe.
Yeah, and I like this was before, social media trends like were a real big thing. Like if you were to ask me when the first like meme or whatever it was, I'd say like Harambe or Harambe, that
Like
the
in
gorilla.
2016, yeah.
2016. That hadn't happened yet.
Yeah.
It was still more like social media was used to post your stuff
Right.
and talk to your friends. So I'm just still baffled about this whole
how
clown.
that all.
Yeah, that hasn't been addressed. Yet. Yeah.
Like, let's
Now
get
that
an
you bring that up,
investigation team
yeah.
on that. But yeah. So moving into like some other areas that you delve into, you have a podcast. Would you like to tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, so the No Wasted Movement podcast, it's only available on Spotify. We post on Instagram and YouTube as well. The title comes from the title of my first book, No Wasted Movement, Growing in Discomfort. It's the same, cover, letters and everything. And my friend Kobe and I, we are co-hosts on that. Kobe is in the Navy. He lives in San Diego. He also helps out at the high school up there with JV and varsity football. And he also coaches like 7-on-7. So that podcast, we had this idea. Actually, 2 years ago, Kobe and I had meant to start it. But at the end of last year, we made it, a point to start this year. I think our first episode was on like January 13th. And we're at 12 episodes now.
Nice.
But this is just mainly a podcast about purpose and motivation, some of the things that I've learned, as an athlete, because Kobe and I played Little League. His dad was my first football coach who left a positive impact on my life moving forward and all that. But yeah, it's mainly just a podcast about motivation, discipline, purpose, just some lessons that we learned along the way and that we're still learning.
Sure. Yeah, and going into that like route, I guess, why do you think, you wrote a book about it. I think you wrote 2 self-help books.
Yeah, too.
Why do you think this like motivation area is so important for people to like listen to, read, etc.?
Because the world is getting very easily accessible. Like it's getting a lot easier to, I guess, beat out your competition, whether that's as a man or as a woman. A lot of people are lazy in this world. A lot of people think that our generation doesn't want to work or that we don't want to put in the work, but the very few of us, or millions of us, compared to the grand scheme of things, that want to make our dream lives possible, we need those messages that reassure us. We need those people in our lives, those leaders that speak positively, and not so much people over 40 complaining about everything that we complain about and everything that they complained about when they were our age.
Yeah.
But yeah, just ending that cycle of putting down the next generation, I think. And especially the younger generations, like people 18 and below, like they absolutely need our help as well, as they grow and learn more about themselves, because, they're being pushed and pulled into crazy different directions at such a young, impressionable age, and it's good and bad. So
I think that's such an interesting point. Like younger generations, they're being exposed to a lot more, through social media, phone access, etc. I would totally agree that this positive messaging does need to come across, especially for the younger kids that maybe they see 10,000 things every day and they don't really know what to make of it. The positive messaging can really, I think, kind of break through that. So I think you're totally right about that.
I have a question.
All right.
That is something that I think I would identify that I struggle with. is just phone usage. Just mine, like, oh, I'm bored. Like, my first instinct to get my phone out and scroll on Instagram or TikTok or just whatever. What would you have any, like, advice on, like, how to beat that? Like, I've been trying to watch my screen time. I've been trying to just inch it down slowly. Do you, like, have any advice on something like that?
I'd say I'm guilty too. You know, you say you like tell yourself you're not on it as much, and then it says like 8 hours and 47 minutes.
You're like, wow, that is a
like 10:30
full
at night,
day
you're like,
of work right there.
I should be getting paid for this.
I should be getting paid for it.
Yeah. So I used to like do like the screen time thing on my phone and like have the limits and things like that. Sometimes I would bypass it, obviously, but I guess like I wouldn't say putting a whole lot of limits on that. Try not to put a limit on it, because eventually you'll just try to like bypass.
Right.
through it.
You'll try to talk your way out of like why you need to
It's kind of like
get over it.
jumping right into it, like trying to run a mile in 7 minutes when you haven't you know, jogged 200 meters in 2 years or something like that. You know, it's like you're jumping into it, cutting yourself off of that. So just weekly try to lower it. You know, maybe it's a minute, maybe it's 10 minutes or a whole entire hour. But what I do is like I think about like the bigger picture. I think of like my future self and how he would react to me, you know, using this time. And like if I want what I want, like dreams and goals, like then I'm not going to be scrolling, looking for motivation just for no reason or things like that, just entertainment. I'm still guilty of, you know, watching YouTube every time I eat, you know.
Yeah, I do that as well.
It comes from, you know, growing up watching the morning news while I was eating or watching something like, but it's really just a conscious decision that you have to make every single day, and eventually you'll cut that time down. I wouldn't say that the time is extremely important, but also remember like that's the time you spend on your phone instead of like getting closer to what you want in life, I guess.
I've noticed, I think it was 2 summers ago, I completely cut like screens out at all. Like I tried to go a month of like not watching TV, not being on my phone, and I made it 2 weeks, which I think is actually pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's
better than
14
like,
days. Yeah.
And it kind of, well, I guess it doesn't suck, but like I realized like I've gotten like brain fog and like just kind of like more lethargic and like not motivated to like do things. I think because of the screen, because like I noticed like I had more energy, like I enjoyed reading again. You know, you like pick up actual real hobbies and things to do that aren't just, oh, I'm gonna watch this funny video and like it and then send it to my friends and things like that. So I don't know. I get in like, it's just like a wave of like wanting to change and then like not wanting. So I think it's hard for me.
Yeah, I think a lot of people want to cut back on their screen time. I'd say for me personally, the biggest, you know, aspect of why I don't just, you know, cut everything out, because probably be good for me, is I have such a huge fear of missing out. Like, you know, texting your friends, or using Snapchat, social media. I feel like I'm going to miss stuff, even though honestly, like, what are you going to miss? Like, your friends
they
texting.
posted a picture. Oh, cool, you're in California or whatever.
Like, you could literally just talk to your friends about that in real life, but, you know, it's something in my mind. It's just like, no, you got to, like, what if something cool was being talked about in the group chat? Or, So it's hard because all your friends, all your people, they're doing this. It's like, I want to do that. Even if you know that it's not probably the greatest for you. So I hope for me, after I graduate, I'll be able to kind of take a step away from social media, because I won't be like within proximity of people. But, you know, I guess we'll see. But all right, we're back. Final portion of our show. We have a question on the table that, you know, is going to ruffle some feathers. What do you think, this goes for the whole room, is the best genre of creative content like film, novels, etc.?
I think horror is the greatest genre. It's the best genre in the world. It's not as respected, you know, in award shows like the Oscars or the Golden Globes, but it's the best because it targets almost all the senses, you know, as you're watching, you know. You see the character struggle, you feel that struggle, you feel that sort of pain in your gut or your chest, and now you're on the edge of your seat. Now you're jumping, now the popcorn's, you know, leaping off of your lap or your hands because you're just so scared and terrified. You could be in your seat sweating or shaking, your hands are shaking. Your heart rate is definitely increasing as you watch these scary scenes. But horror is the greatest genre because it's so niche that people think that every piece of horror content is predictable until it's not. And that sort of makes horror the best genre ever.
Yeah. I wouldn't say horror is the best, but and you know there is a really horror doesn't you said horror doesn't get a lot of respect. It is definitely the genre with the least amount of funding. Like all the movies, you know, they're working with tiny budgets compared to like other genres. And I would say horror, in my eyes, has the largest probability of a movie flopping bad.
Absolutely.
But, you know, they're when it strikes, lightning strikes for horror, and it's you know, like we talked about the Conjuring series, and but when it's bad, I remember I watched it's the Blair Witch Project. That's a very famous one.
Yeah.
It didn't hit for me. This whole movie, I'm not gonna spoil it, but this whole movie you're watching, it's like a handheld. They're walking around the woods. It all leads up. I am going to spoil it, actually. So skip ahead like 20 seconds. It all leads up to they go to this house in the woods. There's three people, or these two people and their friend. They walk downstairs, and their friend's standing in the corner, and then the camera starts like fuzzing, and it ends. It's like, really? I just watched this hour-long movie for that?
Yeah, those are definitely absolute worst.
I think it's hard because, like, to make a good horror film, it's probably going to have to be rated R. And then that just cuts into, like, your profit because you're not going to take a 4-year-old to go watch that over Moana or whatever. So
Yeah.
I think it's hard to probably attract, like super good minds to make money on that.
Yeah. Well, what would you say the best genre of film is?
You didn't even say yours.
I'll go.
Okay.
Don't worry.
I mean, this isn't a genre, but like I like movies that like just really display like human like emotion and like make you kind of think about like what a human experience is. Like
So like
action or
dramas or
drama.
thrillers. Like, what are you thinking?
I don't know. Like I'm honestly not that big of a movie person. Like I don't I don't enjoy like I would never really watch a movie by myself. Like
That's
I mean,
that's
movie-
a crazy take.
a
right
movie isn't like a social thing. Like I mean, you're not supposed to talk during a movie. But like I would say like I enjoy watching movies with people more than like by myself. But yeah, I would say I don't know. I kind of like just like movies that make you think. I don't know. That's not really a genre, but
No, but
Those are good films as well.
Yeah.
yeah.
When you're leaving the theater, like, whoa, my perspective on life has changed. Those are good.
Yeah. Like Good Will Hunting. I think that's one of my,
Don't snag. That's
one of my top
movie
favorite.
of
I
all
wouldn't say my favorite movie
That's
of
a
all
great
time is probably Tarzan, the animated Disney one.
I'm not gonna say anything about that. Yeah, I guess my favorite genre. I don't even know if you would classify. I would say like adventure, but like and like kind of more broad, like science fiction. Like science fiction can be like horror, or it can be like adventure. But I think like people going out on like a quest or something.
Lord of the Rings.
I'm not a big fan.
That's like
You like the Hobbit series?
And they're
quest.
gonna be mad at me, but Hobbit I did like more. Just there's too much going on in the Lord of the Rings, man. And I watch Game of Thrones, so I'm not like anti-complicated, but I don't know. It didn't mesh with me. I like some dude. I think a man or a woman that's like kind of, you know, a loser is like given a job to do, and they go on like a journey, and they get good, and they're cool. That's like the best.
Yeah, that's
and
cool.
like things happen.
That's
it's just
story arc.
You know, everyone claps and like like it's predictable sometimes, but gosh darn it, it's just I don't know. I enjoy, you know, because you kind of see yourself in the main characters, whatever they're doing. You're like, yeah, I could do that.
I don't know if there's like any like famous films like this for like the main character dies or like just like loses, but not like at the very end, kind of like towards the middle of the film, and kind of like shifts off of like the main character. Is there any films like that?
I don't know about dying. I think the closest movie I can think of is Blade Runner, the new one,
2049.
49.
Yeah.
For spoilers, you should go watch it. It's a great movie. What I really respected about that movie is, you know, this whole thing. It's about like humanoid androids that like are really indistinguishable. The main character, he's doing his job. He's he's supposed to catch these androids that like escape or whatever. And he, you know, he's on the trail of this whole big conspiracy, and he's like finding clues that, you know, I'm not actually an android like I thought I was. I'm actually a human. In like 3/4, maybe like 3/5 of the way through the movie, not towards the end, he finds out. He's like, no, actually, I am an android. I just, you know, had these memories implanted into me. And I really respected the film on it because I was like, it's so predictable. He's a human, like, and it turns out no, like he
actually was just a robot.
And I think movies like that takes a lot of courage, like to have like a not happy ending or whatever. So,
Yeah.
that's the only one I could really think of. But no.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. So unless there's anything else, we could.
I have one last statement for horror.
Oh, okay, yeah. Horror expert.
Of
now
why
that I think
it is the
about it,
best.
like horror is something that I think it's the greatest genre because you could almost inject it into any other genre.
Yeah.
Like it's like multifaceted, so, you know, I guess moldable, you know, it's durable, it's sometimes predictable, but like when you put it into something like a sci-fi or something like a romance film or just even action or genre or drama, then it absolutely just changes the genre and, you know, it changes the impact and the whole entire tone of the film.
Yeah. You're super right. It is so easy to, you know, like I watched a trailer for the new Alien movie, and like half of the trailer is just like a normal. It looks like a space exploration movie. It's kind of getting hyped for it, and then you know it shifts into horror. Horror is very versatile. It can be anything you want it to be because humans, any situation they're in that's new, it's going to be scary. Like whether you're on the like planes, like or the new frontier in, you know, 1700s America, like The Witch, which is a very good movie, or like I just mentioned, like in space. You're right. It happens anywhere because it's up to the creativity of the team behind it to say, this right here is a situation or a place. How do we make it scary?
Yeah, that's exactly my mindset going into writing stories. Like,
Yeah.
how can I turn something so
How could I twist?
boring and normal to something absolutely terrifying?
Could you say like that the essence of like horror is just like something going bad? Like,
Yeah.
I think of like, you know, the wagon trail, like way back when they're like coming out here and like, you know, your wheel falls off, you're crossing the river, like that could be, I guess, that wouldn't be like, you wouldn't watch that. Okay, I take back my statement.
No, but that's like
that's a good
thing that
that's a
like
good
puts
thing.
you on the path. Like
Yeah.
something goes wrong, you have to pit stop. You're in this new place. I think it's, you know, all about the fear of the unknown when it
Right.
really
It's
comes down
definitely-
to
yeah,
it.
it plays out to that. It's like a snowball effect. Like one classic scene that you will see in the next 100 years of horror films that you watch is the car's not starting.
Right.
You know, it's I absolutely laugh at those parts. It's like, oh yeah, here we go. It's not going to
Okay.
start. Like, then it starts on the third try, and the killer's like right there in the
Right.
window. Like when you watch enough of it, you just know what's happening next, and it still startles me like when I watch it, but it's still entertaining.
Well, because
you're
you're rooting them on. They're like, come on, you gotta gotta get it going.
One movie that I think of is if you haven't watched it, go watch it. It's on Prime or something like that. But Smile 2, they're currently like in production for Smile 3, which is crazy. But in Smile 2, she's like driving the car and like she thinks it's her friend in the car, but she gets a phone call from her friend.
Oh wow!
And then like she looks at her and she's giving her that evil look. It's crazy.
I kind of a little tangent, but I've been in a car where I'm like listening to I used to listen to like audiobooks a lot, so I listen to a scary story, and it's like checking behind you, like making sure there's no one in the back seat, like.
I do that.
You just become paranoid
in the car when it's dark out. Like check the back seat. You know?
Like surely not, but maybe.
Yeah, you never know.
I don't know.
It could happen. You could be in the horror film.
I'm gonna hide in the back of your car and see how long it takes for you to notice me. But
good luck opening the doors of bus. It takes so much effort to open.
yeah. Well, yeah. Thank you all so much for watching this. It's peace of mind.
Peace of Mind podcast. Yeah. Thank you, Jared, for
yes, of course,
hopping on and giving us a little glimpse into your world of
thanks for having me.
Of filming and creating stories.
Those watching, go out there, enjoy some horror content.
Create your own.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
Books on Amazon. And check out the podcast. Doing a lot of creative stuff. We really appreciate him coming on here and giving us his time. So, thank you for watching, and peace out.